It was late at night when my fiancé rushed out the door, slinging a backpack over his shoulder, his face tense as he mumbled something about an unexpected business trip. He left in such a hurry, he forgot to log out of message on his laptop. I bent down to close the screen, but my finger accidentally brushed against the touchpad, and suddenly, message threads popped up like a punch straight to my chest. Robert, my fiancé, and I were high school classmates, and we had a thing for each other back then. Later, I went abroad for college, and he got accepted into a university in New York. The distance slowly blurred everything between us, until this year, when I returned home and saw him again at a class reunion. I learned he had been waiting for me all along. Our classmates laughed and teased, calling me his first love. Robert turned bright red, looking down, not daring to meet my eyes. He said softly, "I've been missing you like crazy, even with all the miles between us." That moment melted my heart. I fell deeply into the illusion. I thought we were perfect, that our love had survived time. But 5 minutes ago, I saw the iMessage window still open on his laptop. Two babes in the contact list. Same profile picture, same pinned note. One was me. The other was the girl he was sweet-talking. Line after line of messages scrolled by, and my heart sank into a frozen lake, numb, cold, paralyzed. My body went stiff with the chill. Only my heartbeat thudding loudly in my ears reminded me I was still conscious. The chat history with her dated back 2 years. I opened the most recent ones, and the more I read, the more hopeless I felt. Just yesterday, he told me he had to leave urgently for a business trip, but at the exact same time, he was texting her. "Babe, come over tonight. I miss you like crazy." She replied, "But don't forget the Trojan. I'm not ready for a baby yet." I stopped breathing. So he's at a hotel right now, with her? I kept scrolling. 7 days ago, I confided in him about work. He said, "Wait for me at home." But at the same time, he texted her, "Sorry, babe, my mom's calling me for dinner. I'll be there right after. Take a shower and wait for me. I'll make it worth your while." That night, he comforted me, made up an excuse about work, but really, he left to satisfy her. 10 days ago, he lied about a company outing, but actually booked a hotel with her and ordered ultra-thin Trojans on Amazon. 2 weeks ago, he didn't reply to me, said he overslept. But in reality, he spent the night at her place and delivered the goods in the morning. Every message shattered another piece of trust. My hands were trembling, but I still screenshot the entire conversation. Then suddenly, a message from Hunter Quinn, Robert's best friend, popped up. I had met him before. His eyes always gave off this sleazy vibe. He texted, "Damn, bro, you're killing it. Both hands full. When you gonna let both play at once?" Robert replied, "No rush. I'm still training them." Hunter continued, "You better tame that Ice Queen Mina too. She acts tough, but I bet she's wild underneath. Take pics." Then came a blurry photo of me, secretly taken. I had no idea when. Robert texted, "Next time I'll shoot a video. Won't let the bros miss out." I ran to the bathroom and threw up. My stomach twisted in knots, but my mind had never been clearer. This man could not be allowed to stay. When I returned, iMessage had logged out on the laptop. Robert messaged me, "Babe, can you check if iMessage logged out on my laptop? Love you forever." He knew he could log out remotely, but in his panic, he forgot. I smirked and replied, "I didn't notice. Let me check." He said, "No need. Doesn't matter if it's still logged in. Nothing to hide from my babe, right?" Sweet words, but behind them was a devil. I opened my phone and started typing a message to the other girl, but then I hesitated. She's with Robert right now. If I send it now, he'll calm her down. I have to wait for the right moment. The next evening, Robert came home. The quiet click of the door echoed softly through the still apartment. He stepped into the kitchen, where I was doing the dishes, and hugged me from behind. His arms wrapped tightly around my waist, his warm breath brushing against my neck. He kissed my cheek lightly, his voice like syrup. "Babe, I missed you so much I thought I'd die." I could smell his familiar cologne, but this time it twisted my stomach. I fought the wave of nausea rising in me, the disgust bubbling beneath the surface like an undertow, and forced myself to keep calm, faking a smile for him. "Did you really miss me, or are you just pretending?" I asked, keeping my tone deliberately light. He let out a mocking laugh, tapped my forehead with his thumb, a gesture that used to make my heart flutter, now only made my skin crawl. "You're doubting me? How dare you question my sincerity? Your punishment tonight is sleeping with nothing on. I used to think that was just playful banter between couples. But now, a chill shot up from the soles of my feet, crawling like electricity along my spine. My skin prickled, every fine hair standing upright. Tonight, he wanted to secretly film me. The thought struck like lightning, freezing me on the spot. Instinct urged me to spin around and slap him across the face, hard. But reason held me back, like an invisible rope wrapped tight around my chest. I lowered my head, speaking in a flat tone, breath short and weary. "My boss yelled at me again today." "I just want to sleep early." Robert didn't seem to care. He patted my shoulder half-heartedly, muttered something like, "Hang in there, babe." "I'm here," then turned and walked into the bedroom, his footsteps heavy and fading. I waited until he was fast asleep, the rhythmic sound of snoring seeping through the wall, before I gently slipped out of bed, my bare feet touching the icy wooden floor. He had a habit of putting his phone on Do Not Disturb when he slept, and this was the perfect window to contact that girl. I crept into the bathroom to splash cold water on my face. It hit my skin like a slap, snapping me awake. I carefully locked the door, the metal bolt clicking into place with a sharp sound that felt like a fragile shield around me. My heart was pounding, hands trembling as I held my phone under the dim screen light. I sent her a friend request, saying I was a high school classmate. My fingers moved with precision. Maybe because she saw the same profile photo, she accepted instantly and sent a question mark. "Sheesty." While texting, I accidentally tapped her profile picture and saw her most recent post. A selfie in a sparkling white wedding gown under bright lights, her smile radiant, her eyes gleaming with joy. In the background was a familiar figure, Robert, standing beside her, phone in hand. They were getting married? The thought exploded in my head like a bomb, leaving me breathless. So, I'm the mistress? The homewrecker? Guilt and fury surged together, a whirlpool that drowned every other thought. She messaged again, sounding impatient. "Who are you? Say something, or I'm deleting." I snapped back into focus, took a deep breath, and replied, "Hey, I need to talk. Is Robert your boyfriend? If yes, then it looks like we're sharing one." I also attached a short video clip of Robert sleeping, flat on his back, mouth slightly open, soft snoring, his face peaceful and clueless about the storm that was coming. She went silent for a few minutes, the typing bubble stretching on, making my heart race in pulses. Then she finally replied, confused. "What do you mean?" I explained quickly but clearly. "Robert's been seeing both of us. I don't know which one of us is the mistress, but judging by your wedding photo, I guess that's me," she responded, skeptical. "What kind of joke is this? We're getting married next month." A wave of cold washed over me, spreading from my chest to my limbs. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to stay warm. Truth is, I could have just slapped this cheating bastard and walked away, reclaiming my peace and letting the night air blow away the pain. But I couldn't bear the thought of her being deceived, too, of her losing the precious things she believed in, like the dream of a wedding dress and promises whispered at sunset. If she was the kind of woman who loved blindly, then exposing the truth might only make me look dirty, too. The typing bubble lingered forever. I bit my lip, waiting. Then it came. This bastard! And he still wants to get married? I'll skin him alive. We need to meet. My pounding heart finally eased, like a weight lifted off my chest. I exhaled a trembling breath and typed, "My name's Mina Taylor." She replied instantly, her tone fierce and clear. "I'm Chloe Parker." We met in private the next morning, just as the first light of day slipped through the curtains. Robert had left for work. I called in sick, claiming a headache, then threw on a light sweater and stepped outside. The morning breeze was cool, but not enough to calm the fire burning quietly in my chest. I pushed open the cafe door, the smell of roasted coffee blending with soft jazz in the background. Chloe was already there, tucked in the far corner, sunlight from the window illuminating her golden hair like a crown. She wore an emerald green silk dress, the lace-trimmed collar delicate and elegant, wealthy but not flashy. Her eyes glanced up at me, sharp but not hostile. "Mina, you're colder than I expected," she said, lips curving into a playful smile, though tension lingered in her gaze. I pulled out the chair and sat across from her, forcing a weak smile, my lips pressed tight, unable to hide the storm churning inside. Robert's betrayal felt like a dull blade, sawing over and over without drawing blood, just constant pain. I couldn't bring myself to smile for real. Chloe was straightforward. She immediately confirmed the facts with me, fast and to the point. We exchanged details about each other and what we knew about Robert, and it didn't take long to piece the whole story together. 2 years ago, Robert met Chloe through work. With his charming smile and easygoing nature, he quickly won her heart. They dated, went to dinners, took photos under sunsets. 6 months ago, he told Chloe he was meeting some friends, but in truth, he was attending a reunion where he saw me again. He claimed he was single, looked at me with those same old eyes, and I fell into his trap like a fool. Chloe listened, gripping her cappuccino so tightly that the foam trembled each time she clenched. I continued. Robert had split his time between us like a trained juggler. When he was with Chloe, he told me he was swamped with work. When he was with me, he made excuses about family dinners to sneak off to her. His parents even helped cover it up, introducing me and Chloe as separate girlfriends on different occasions. We had identical couple profile pictures, identical babe contact names, so no one ever questioned his phone. Chloe bit her lip, her eyes red but not crying. She flipped her phone and showed me a wedding photo, her in a white dress, glowing like a princess, and Robert behind her, adjusting his tie in front of a mirror. "We're getting married next month," she said, voice trembling. "The hotel's booked." "Guests have been invited." Suddenly, she slammed her hand on the table. Bang! The cups rattled, and a few heads turned. "Robert, that bastard! He's not just ruining me, he's humiliating my entire family." I looked at her, heart sinking. Chloe had grown up in luxury, raised in a powerful family. She'd never been hit with this kind of raw betrayal before. If it weren't for me, she might have walked into that wedding smiling, completely unaware she was being lied to. I gently placed B's hand over hers. Her skin was soft, but ice cold. "Call it off before it's too late," I said quietly, maybe trying to comfort myself too. Chloe looked up, her eyes suddenly alive with resolve. Call it off? You think I'll just let this slide? I raised an eyebrow, curious. What do you want to do? She clenched her jaw, her perfect white teeth sinking into her lower lip, leaving a faint red mark. I want to destroy him. I smiled. A slow, icy smile. My intention was exactly the same. A wedding would be the perfect stage to rip off Robert's mask, especially one like Chloe's, full of upper-class guests, people who could ruin a man like him with just a few whispered words. But I hesitated. This was her wedding, not mine. I didn't want to interfere until Chloe spoke again. She leaned forward, her voice lowered, like she was letting me in on a secret. Instead of canceling the wedding, wasting the deposit, and dealing with the embarrassment, I think we could use this as an opportunity. Her eyes lit up, not with joy, but with the spark of a plan coming together. I felt my heartbeat quicken, like I just found an ally in the dark. My eyes lit up too, mirroring her resolve. Go on, I whispered, fingers gripping the edge of the table, ready to hear the plan that would change everything. Suddenly, both our phones buzzed at the same time, the sharp ding slicing through the conversation. I glanced at my screen and my heart froze. A message from Robert. Babe, today's so beautiful. I just wanted to say I miss you. I looked up and caught Chloe's eyes. She was staring at her phone too, brows furrowed, lips pressed into a tight line. We leaned in and compared our screens. The messages were identical. Every word, every period. A perfect copy sent to both of us. Chloe shook her head, gripping her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. I typed quickly, trying to keep my tone light so Robert wouldn't suspect a thing. I miss you too. Then, I looked up and saw Chloe toss her phone onto the table. The dry thud loud and blunt. You're not replying? I asked quietly, worried she'd blow the cover. Chloe's lips curled into a smug little smile, a glint of defiance flashing in her eyes. I'm a rich girl. Showing a bit of attitude isn't a crime, is it? Relax. He's too busy sweet-talking me to notice. She folded her arms, her golden hair swaying slightly as she tilted her head, confident like a queen. I nodded, but reminded her, voice dropping low. Don't forget, Robert secretly took photos of us and sent them to his friend. Be careful, Chloe's expression darkened, her eyes narrowing, jaw clenched so tight I could almost hear her teeth grind. These guys are absolute trash. We went over the plan thoroughly. Then Chloe stood up, her emerald silk dress rustling softly. She nodded at me, her eyes icy yet warm. Stay in touch, Mina, she said, then walked out with a kind of proud stride that said nothing could ever break her. I stayed behind a moment, fingers tracing the rim of my coffee cup, my heart heavy but steady with resolve. Outside the window, the light was fading, like the day itself was preparing to end. That night, I came home. Robert's cologne still lingered faintly in the air. He walked in, all over me like usual, trying to be affectionate. I made an excuse to avoid him and slipped into the bathroom to text Chloe. Not long after, Robert's phone rang. I cracked the door and saw him frown, scrolling quickly. His face changed, went pale, lips pressed tight. I need to meet my boss for a bit, he muttered, grabbed his keys and rushed out, the door slamming shut behind him. I exhaled in relief and immediately messaged Chloe. What did you just say to him? She replied with smug satisfaction in every word. I told him to show up in front of me right now or the wedding's off. Then she added a sly smile emoji. It's close to the big day. I'm just being a little needy before the ceremony. Isn't a fiancé allowed to ask for some comfort? I smiled and tapped out a quick thumbs-up emoji. Chloe followed up, her message tinged with restrained fury. He's standing outside my place right now. Looks pathetic, like some abandoned puppy. I just want to burst out there and slap him silly, Mina. What should I do? I pictured her standing behind a curtain, watching Robert under the streetlight, his shirt wrinkled, his eyes pleading. I wrote back, my tone calm but cutting. Hold back, Chloe. Save the grand finale for the wedding. Let him dig his own grave. She responded instantly. Got it. At that same moment, my phone buzzed again. A message from Robert. Babe, I can't make it home tonight. Sleep well, okay? I smirked, gently texted him something sweet in return, and forwarded the message to Chloe. A month passed quickly. With the wedding approaching, Robert spent most of his time with Chloe, running back and forth to meet her sudden demands, from buying expensive gifts to attending lavish parties hosted by the Parker family. Chloe used the excuse of pre-wedding anxiety to torment him, making him spend endlessly on dresses, decorations, and more. I could sense his frustration through his rushed texts, but that fake smile still clung to his face as he tried to appease her, eyes gleaming with greed at the thought of the Parker fortune. To avoid suspicion, Chloe and I coordinated like two actors in a play. I'd occasionally send him sweet messages, pretending to care. You must be so busy. Don't forget to take care of yourself. Meanwhile, Chloe would call him out of nowhere whenever he tried to get close to me, her voice cold and curt. Robert, I need you. He'd apologize to me in a hurry, making excuses about work. After a few rounds of this, he gave up trying, saying he'd been too busy lately, and promised he'd make it up to me once things settled down. I smiled and said, okay, silently thinking, you bastard. When this is over, hell is where you'll land. The wedding day finally came. Bright sunlight lit up the luxury hotel where the ceremony would be held. The building was grand, with marble columns and glittering crystal chandeliers, like a modern palace. Chloe had arranged everything, from tight security to a meticulous guest list. No invitation, no entry. Thanks to her, I held a gold-embossed invitation in my hand, like a golden ticket to a grand stage. Not just me, Robert's friends, colleagues, even his relatives were all invited. The more the audience, the better the show, I thought, my lips curling into a quiet smile. I deliberately wore a wide-brimmed hat and a mask, dressed in a plain black dress, no jewelry, no attention, like a shadow blending into the crowd. I chose a small table in the corner of the banquet hall, where the chandelier light couldn't quite reach. From there, I observed everything. Tables draped in white silk, glasses of wine sparkling, and the polite laughter of upper-class guests. Chloe had gone all out. Half the guests were from Robert's side, from his colleagues to his parents, and even Hunter Quinn, his smug-faced best friend. They huddled near the stage, whispering and chuckling. One of Robert's co-workers, hair slicked back with gel, laughed loudly. Robert really scored the jackpot, marrying into the Parker family. Another nodded, raising his glass. So jealous. Man's on a whole new level now. Robert's parents sat straight, their eyes gleaming with pride, as if their son had conquered the world. Hunter smirked and said slyly, My boy's just getting started. Wait till you see what he pulls next. I tightened my grip around my glass, fingers ice cold, but my mind had never been clearer. The ceremony began, the room dimmed, and soft violin music floated through the air, drawing every eye to the stage. Robert stood there in a perfectly tailored black suit, hair neatly combed, face full of fake emotion. He smiled, his eyes scanning the crowd, completely clueless about the storm that was about to hit. Then Chloe appeared, and for a moment, the entire room held its breath. She wore a high-end wedding gown, white silk hugging her figure, diamonds sparkling under the lights, but none of it outshone the radiance of her presence. Her golden hair flowed down, her eyes sharp and striking, like an angel descended, carrying a hidden blade. From afar, Chloe caught my eye and gave a slight nod, subtle but firm. I clenched my jaw, glanced at Robert, heart pounding, but not from heartbreak. A man who couldn't appreciate a beautiful, strong woman like Chloe and wasted himself on filthy games. He didn't deserve her. I pulled out my phone, fingers moving fast, and texted Robert, "What are you up to?" Standing on stage, he slyly pulled his phone from his suit pocket, glanced at the screen, then typed a quick reply, like he didn't want anyone to notice. My phone buzzed. A message from Robert. "Babe, the company's hosting a movie screening. Can't text right now. Talk later, okay?" I scoffed, lips curving but my eyes sharp as knives. "A movie, huh? Let me show you a real feature film." I looked at Chloe. She was walking slowly down the aisle, her gaze steady like a warrior heading into battle. All eyes were on her, but I knew the stage wasn't just for the bride. It was where Robert would face the truth, in front of everyone who once admired him. The room fell silent as Chloe and Robert stood side by side on the stage, the crystal lighting casting a soft glow over them like a perfect painting. Chloe, in her diamond-studded wedding dress, looked at Robert and said gently, her voice sweet but layered with meaning, "Today is the most memorable day of my life, Robert. And I have a special gift for you, Robert." Still caught up in fake emotion, replied, "Thank you, babe." But before he could finish, his smile froze. The large screen behind them suddenly went dark, the room lights dimmed, and then the screen lit up again. Not with romantic wedding photos, but with raw, disgusting messages between Robert and Hunter Quinn, displayed in bold clarity. "Look at that girl in the tight dress. Damn, she's hot," read one from Hunter. Robert replied, "Go ahead, bro. I'll follow right after." Then, "Two girlfriends, each with their own style, one in each hand. And, no rush. Once I've tamed them, I'll pass one to you." Vulgar, degrading lines paired with hidden snapshots of Chloe, of me, and of random women on the street all appeared like a public sentencing. The crowd stirred, whispers erupted into gasps, pointing fingers, and shocked murmurs. Robert's face turned pale, sweat beading on his forehead. He shouted, his voice cracking, "Who did this? Turn it off! Turn it off now!" He lunged toward the control booth, flailing his arms like he was ready to destroy it. But the technicians had locked everything down. Chloe stood still, her lips curling into a cold smirk, her voice cutting through the hall. Calm, sharp. "Do you like your gift, Robert?" Robert didn't answer. His eyes darted frantically as he tried to block the screen, but his scrawny frame was no match for a 100-inch projection. The screen kept rolling, now showing pictures of me and Robert together. Moments I once believed were love, now turned into solid proof of betrayal. The audience gaped. Some covered their mouths, others pulled out phones to snap pictures. Robert turned, eyes bloodshot, and lunged at Chloe like he wanted to grab her. But two tall groomsmen, already prepped, immediately blocked him, gripping his shoulders firmly. Chloe stepped forward, her gown rustling as she moved, head held high, smiling like a victorious queen. "You were dating both of us at the same time. Chasing my money and keeping your first girlfriend on the side. Thought you could enjoy the love of two women?" she continued, her tone sharp as blades. "You and your disgusting best friend are the perfect couple. Filthy, pathetic, absolute trash. You lived like a king off my family's money. But you think you deserved it?" Then, without hesitation, She raised her hand and hurled the wedding bouquet at Robert. He stumbled, eyes wild, unable to meet her gaze. I sat quietly in the corner, wide-brimmed hat casting shadow over half my face, a discreet smile playing on my lips. The room exploded into chaos. Whispers turned to shouts. I glanced over at Hunter Quinn, who was now slouched in his chair, head bowed, trying to disappear. But some guests had recognized him, pointing fingers. Hunter shrank further, his face red, like he wanted to crawl into the ground. Robert's friends split into two camps, some stretching their necks to film every second, phones raised, others shouting in outrage, "What the hell is this? This is a damn setup!" Robert's parents shot up from their seats. His mother slammed her wine glass onto the table, the crash of shattering glass echoing across the hall. She screamed, voice shrill and trembling with fury, "Your family is bullying my son!" "If you didn't want to marry, just say it. Why make up lies to smear him?" She pointed at Chloe, her face flushed red. "My son is kind." "He would never do something like this. Those photos are fake. I'll sue you all for defamation." Robert's father stood beside her, his face grim and tight, saying nothing, just clenching his fists in silence. Chloe stood on stage, her wedding dress glittering, but her body trembling with rage. She clenched her fists, her voice sharp and cold. "Is your son really that valuable? He's filthier than a sewer rat." Robert's mother wasn't backing down. She stepped forward and pointed at Chloe. "If you want to call off the wedding, you'll have to compensate our family for the damages." I looked at them, a wave of contempt rising in my chest. This family truly had no sense of shame. Chloe turned to me, her eyes flashing like a silent signal. I took a deep breath, removed my wide-brimmed hat and face mask, revealing my face. I gave her a reassuring smile, lips curved but eyes unwavering. Then I stood up and slowly walked toward the stage. The moment I stepped into the light, Robert froze like he'd seen a ghost. His eyes locked on me, lips trembling. "Mina!" I didn't let him finish. My hand swung up and landed across his face with a loud slap that echoed through the hall, silencing everyone. Robert's mother stopped crying, stunned. "Mina!" She quickly turned to the crowd, her voice shaking. "I don't know this woman." I scoffed, standing tall, my voice clear and steady, each word slicing through the air like nails. "Don't know me?" To reassure both me and Chloe Parker here, Robert took us, one by one, to meet his parents. "How could you possibly not know?" I stepped closer to her, eyes locked. "Not only did you know, you helped him lie. You told each of us we were his first love. How many girls has he paraded through your home like that?" I turned to the crowd, my tone cutting. "You two really are the perfect role models for your son." Robert's father stammered, trying to speak, but only nonsense came out. His mother stood frozen, face pale, clutching her chest like she couldn't breathe. Robert snapped back into focus, growling, eyes bloodshot like a cornered animal. "So, you two teamed up to screw me over?" I raised an eyebrow, lips curling into a cold smile. "That's right." "So what?" Chloe added, her voice like a blade. "If you hadn't done such disgusting things, we wouldn't have had anything to screw you over with." Robert instantly shifted tactics. He turned to Chloe, grabbing her hand, voice desperate, full of fake remorse. "Chloe, she seduced me." "I'm sorry, but you're the one I truly love. I swear I'll cut things off with her. Please." Chloe yanked her hand back, eyes blazing. She raised her arm, then took a handkerchief from her assistant and calmly wiped her hand. "Robert, get out!" Her voice was soft, almost seductive, as she pointed toward the door. Oh, and every single cent I spent on you these past 2 years. Pay it back, or you'll be meeting the Parker family's top lawyers. Robert kept trying to hold on, but Chloe waved her hand, and 4 tall men in black suits appeared. With cold expressions, they marched straight toward Robert and his family. Robert struggled, yelling, "You can't do this!" But the guards dragged him away, his shoes screeching against the wooden floor. Hunter Quinn slipped quietly out the door, head down, trying to avoid the stares and whispers. The room was still buzzing, but now the gasps had turned to applause and laughter, not for the groom, but for Chloe, and for me. I stood beside Chloe on stage, the spotlight shining on us. 2 women who were no longer victims. Chloe reached for my hand, gave it a gentle squeeze, her eyes glowing. "Thank you, Mina." I nodded, lips curving into a real smile. For the first time that day. Outside, the sun was fading, but inside me, a fire had been lit. Not to burn, but to illuminate the path ahead. A path with no room for liars. The room gradually settled back into silence, leaving only the clinking of wine glasses and bursts of laughter from the remaining guests, as if they'd just watched an extravagant play, completely free of charge. Chloe stood at the center of the stage, raised her hand, and smiled brightly. "Everyone, please eat and drink to your heart's content." Today, I, Chloe Parker, am hosting. Next time I get married, I'll make sure to pick someone more trustworthy and hotter too. Laughter filled the room. Some people applauded. Others lifted their wine glasses in cheers. The earlier tension dissolved, replaced by soft jazz music and lively conversation. Chloe stepped down, chandelier lights glinting off her like a triumphant queen. She pulled out a chair and sat beside me at my quiet corner table, hidden away from the lights where real emotions could finally show. Only now did Chloe let herself drop her guard. Her shoulders slumped slightly, and she leaned her head gently on my shoulder, her soft blonde hair brushing my cheek. She let out a quiet sigh, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mina, honestly, I'm still heartbroken. I wasted 2 whole years of my youth on a piece of trash like him." I gently patted her hand. "It's okay," I said, my voice soft but firm. "You're lovely. You're brave, and you've already made it through the worst. One day, you'll find real love." Chloe pouted, her eyes shimmering as if tears were about to fall, but she held them back and whispered, "We both deserve to be happy, right?" I nodded, locking eyes with her. "Yes, we both will be." The music floated around us. The scent of roses from the banquet table lingered in the air, and in that moment, I felt an invisible bond between 2 women who had both been deceived, now standing side by side. The wedding fiasco quickly became a viral sensation on social media, spreading from private friend groups to trending posts. Robert and Hunter became infamous for all the wrong reasons. The screenshots of their vulgar messages, their objectification of women, and Robert's two-timing habits were everywhere. Robert got fired the very next week. The email short and cold, no explanation needed. Hunter, who had a girlfriend, got dumped without mercy after she read his filthy messages. After that day, I kicked Robert out of the apartment. I gathered all his belongings and threw them into the hallway, each bag hitting the floor with a thud like a final statement. I sent him one last message. "Don't ever come back." Chloe followed through on her word. She listed every cent she had spent on Robert over 2 years, from overpriced dinners to flight tickets for his so-called business trips, and sent him an invoice. When he couldn't pay, she took him to court. Robert, cornered and broke, had nowhere left to run. Every job interview ended the same. The moment he walked in, HR recognized the groom from the wedding scandal, and the door slammed shut. Even when he made it past the initial screen, old colleagues would leak his greatest hits, and no company dared to take him in. In the end, Robert played his last card, begging. He showed up outside the Parker estate, yelling like some drama series hero. "Chloe, I love you! Give me another chance!" But Chloe just waved her hand, and the guards dragged him off, his voice fading into the night air. Pitiful. Chloe texted me right after, clearly annoyed. "Ugh, that guy disgusts me now. How did I ever think he was good-looking?" I burst out laughing, my fingers flying across the screen. "Free this weekend?" "Let's go out," she replied instantly, with a smiling emoji. "Sounds good. See you this weekend." Robert had vanished from our lives, leaving behind a costly lesson. But Chloe and I, we didn't just survive. We won. And now, we were free to write the rest of our story on our own terms. The months following the wedding scandal drifted by like a soft breeze, carrying away the shattered pieces of the past and leaving behind a clear sky for Chloe and me. We, now close friends, often met on weekend afternoons at a small cafe near the park, where sunlight sparkled through the trees and birds chirped in harmony with our laughter. Chloe, with a smile as bright as the sun, told me about Ethan, a childhood friend of the Parker family. With his warm eyes and gentle voice, he used to be the boy she always argued with growing up. But now they were writing a new love story, slow, sincere, like late blooming flowers opening under the autumn sun. I, Mina, also found a new beginning with Daniel, a guy I met at an art exhibit. He had messy curly hair and a kind smile, always carrying a small notebook to jot down sudden ideas. Our date nights were usually walks along the riverside, where city lights shimmered across the water. We talked about books, about travel, and about how hearts can heal after being broken. Every step beside him, I felt a quiet sincerity in the little things. A morning cup of coffee on the balcony, the shared laughter as we clumsily cooked dinner together. One afternoon, Chloe and I sat on a wooden bench in the park, watching golden leaves drift gently onto the path. Wearing an oversized sweater, Chloe leaned her head on my shoulder, her voice soft as the wind. "Mina, I don't feel heavy anymore. Ethan reminds me that real love doesn't have to be forced. It just needs the right person, at the right time." I smiled, my finger tracing the rim of my glass, feeling the coolness where the ice had melted. "Me too, Chloe." Daniel doesn't make big promises, but he makes me feel like I can just be myself. No fear, no doubt. The park was peaceful, sunlight filtering through the branches, casting patches of light and shadow on the ground, like scars that had finally healed on our hearts. Chloe told me how Ethan held her hand under the moonlight during a walk in the Parker garden, and how he shared childhood memories that made her laugh like she'd never been hurt. I told her about Daniel, about how he patiently listened to me talk about my darkest days, and how he painted me a small picture, a bird escaping a cage, soaring into a blue sky. The two of us, women once betrayed, now sat here not to mourn the past, but to welcome what lay ahead, where freedom was breath, light, and laughter no longer forced.